welcome to the channel. Today we have the layered candles that everyone's been so excited about. I believe they were members exclusives. I know they were the first time around. I'm not sure if they were again, but we had the blue raspberry snow cone and the coconut pina colada. And let's get started with the one that everybody was most excited about, which is the blue raspberry snow cone. So we have all those beautiful, beautiful layers. And if you could see right here, if the camera picks it up, there's like this reddish brown string that's there. Kind of laced throughout the wax. And that bothered me. You know, I've decided this is glue. So usually the glue that you see, every once in a while you get like a string here or there and it's clear. For some reason, the glue is kind of like reddish in this one. It didn't affect the burn, and I didn't expect it to, but me being the kind of person that I am, for the one that was going to go into my collection, I really wanted a perfect one. So it did bother me some, and I did consider going to another store to try to see if they had a better selection. But after a while I got hungry, so I ended up going home, and I'm kind of glad that I did, because I will get to that later, but I'm glad that I didn't get more. Number one, because they were so limited. I believe all of my stores only got one crate of 6 candles of blue raspberry snow cone and 2 crates of coconut pina colada for some reason. I almost smacked myself in the face there. So blue raspberry snow cone, the scent notes are blue raspberry syrup, hint of cherry, shaved ice. This one came out in a single wick last year for SAS. I never picked it up because, again, these are usually not into my liking, scent profile. But I did pick these up because I was so curious. And then, let's see, I have some notes here. And then it came out in a 3-wick in 2021. That was a white wraparound with like the red and blue tie-dye. So that was the last time it was in a 3-wick. So this was super exciting for everybody. And the label here is super cute. It's textured, so you have like these little bubbles around there. Wax and wick. So on cold, beautiful. Very strong. You know, again, I'm a child of the 90s, so blue raspberry scents and flavors, you know, I have a soft spot for that. So it smelled nice, and I was really excited to give it a shot. However, we had some issues. So I know that Bonnie from Queen of the Girl Geeks and Garrett over at the Garrett, they had really good experiences with their throw. This was not the case for me, and I needed to make sure that this was really what I was experiencing before I made this video, because, you know, for a second I was like, is my nose broken? I'm not quite sure why everyone's having such a great throw and I'm not. So the first burn, we had the AC on. And, you know, when you have things like that, and I have, again, you know, a larger open concepts area, that can affect, you know, the experience in many ways. But it was almost scentless, virtually scentless. I couldn't smell it. I was disappointed. I was searching for it. But, you know, sometimes candles take a second or third time to really open up and bloom. So I didn't think too much of it. Put it out. Second burn, I sacrificed my family's comfort and I turned the AC off to see if maybe that would ramp up the throw. And I'm sorry that I keep looking over here. I'm kind of looking at my notes here so that I get everything accurately. But yes, no, absolutely nothing. I virtually had to hover over it to, you know, get the scent. And you know, on cold sniff, you get that blue raspberry immediately. Smells so good. But on warm, I got nothing. And I specifically wanted to burn these because with the layered candles, I figure if you put it in a warmer, everything's just kind of gonna muddle together and get really weird. And I am on the team of people who truly believe that these layers are separately scented. So, and you know what? It doesn't matter if they are or not. Who cares? You know, but when we have the Sweet Shot Drop and the Day at the Cafe over here, which this one was a little bit too much for me. I never ended up finishing my first one. This is the one that convinced me that they were separately layered. So it starts off, you know, scent notes being strawberry taffy, fluffy cotton candy, sugared lemon drops. This starts off as a super citrusy, tangy candle. And, you know, super lemon forward, even on cold sniff. When you eventually get to this pink layer, it really mellows out, tones down, and turns into a true strawberry taffy. Super sweet, super sugary, no tanginess at all. Now, by the time I got to the green cotton candy layer, it was all kind of, you know, I tried to keep the layers separate, but there's only so much you can do. And, you know, it kind of got muddled together, so I never figured that one out. But I did believe that the layers were separately scented. Day at the cafe, I only got through the first top layer. My kids didn't care for it. I didn't care for it. It was way too caramelly for me. That one I really can't say. But this one. So the first burn, AC on, second burn, AC off, scentless, scentless. Sometimes I would get a sense of it further away, oddly enough. So if I was standing 2 feet away from the candle, I couldn't smell it. But somehow if I was walking in a room 10 feet away, I might get a whiff of it for like a second, like a little ghost of it. Super strange. I was being haunted by this candle basically, and barely haunted. It was a lazy ghost. When this really opened up was when we got here to the second layer. And I will say that the purple layer is markedly more cherry. Super obvious. Even on cold, let me see. Yes, this is blue raspberry. That's way more cherry. So the third burn, I still couldn't smell it. And by this time I was getting upset and happy at the same time. Happy because I was glad that I didn't go all the way to another store and take someone else's candle in order to get an unscented candle with no worm strings in it for my collection. So glad that I didn't do that. My younger son is homeschooled. He has some health issues, so he's homeschooled. So I lit this during lunch and asked if he could smell it. Couldn't smell it. My oldest son goes to school, and I happened to have it lit when he was coming home, and when he walked through the door, you know, you can usually get hit with a wall of scent if you're burning a really good candle. I think I burned Goose Creek's Key Lime Cake Pop the other day, and I went outside to talk to my husband in the driveway, came back in and was like, that one was incredibly strong. So when he came in, I asked him right away, I said, do you smell a candle in here? And, you know, he was like, no. Smell what? And I said, do you smell anything? And he was getting nervous. He was like, no. So I said, come up the stairs, come to the top of the stairs. Do you smell anything? Just anything? So he was like, what am I looking for? And I was like, a candle. And he was like, what kind of candle? I said, like a blue raspberry snow cone. And he said, I mean, maybe I could sense it, but I can't really smell it. So that was kind of the mantra for me too, for this candle. I could sense it every now and then, like the little ghosts, but I couldn't really smell it until we got here. So when I got to this layer, but really got into it, that's when it opened up. So third burn, end of the third burn is when it finally started opening up. But even then it was kind of light to medium, leaning towards light. And now it was more cherry scented. So when it comes to separately scented layers, it works on a candle like Sweet Shop because we've never had a scent like Sweet Shop before. We don't know what to expect. We're not expecting anything. And these scents can kind of work in layers, right? First you get the lemon, then you get the strawberry, kind of like, you know, the whole gobstopper experience where every layer is a different flavor and it's great. When it comes to a scent like blue raspberry snow cone, we've had this before, or you have, I haven't. And coconut pina colada, we all know those scents. So we're kind of going in expecting something. So when we experience these kind of deconstructed, it's weird. It's kind of like going to a really fancy restaurant and ordering a cheeseburger and getting that fancy deconstructed version of your burger is over here, the bread is over here, and the ketchup is in the other room. And yes, it's a burger, but experiencing each layer on its own, it's not the same. So although I was really happy that this opened up, I was kind of like, but I want more blue raspberry. Now I'm getting kind of like a cherry forward scent. But you know, I have no idea what I'm gonna do, or what I'm gonna get rather, when I get to that bottom layer. Is that shaved ice? What does that even smell like? I don't know. You know, the only time I've ever smelled ice was when, you know, something has freezer burn, and that's an awful smell. So hopefully by the time I get to that layer, everything kind of mixes together. I don't know, maybe it's like another shot of blue raspberry and it might be nice. But again, take my experience for what it's worth, because there have been other people that had really positive experiences with that scent. But for me, and again, I really wanted to make sure that I knew what I was talking about, and that's why I burned it, you know, so many times. For me, with this batch, which here's the batch code, you know, if you're in New York, or I don't even know if other states get the same batches, this was unscented for the first good half of its life. So unfortunately, that was my experience. Then we move on to, set out my notes here, coconut pina colada. So coconut pina colada, apparently this came out first in 2024. I thought it's been out forever because we see it all the time, but apparently the first rendition was 2024, and it's been in so many iterations since. But there was another one called coconut colada a few years back with slightly different scent notes, I believe. So this one is coconut milk, blended pineapple, splash of rum, and it's giving candy corn, is what I said when I first saw it. Same kind of textured bubbled label, wax and wicks. And you know, both of these on cold are very strong. Blue raspberry too, was super promising in the store. Coconut colada had slightly different scent notes, and I have them written down here. It was coconut rum, so you still have the coconut and the rum. Crushed pineapple, you still have the pineapple. But the third scent note was sweet vanilla cream, which we don't have in this one. This one is coconut milk, pineapple, and rum. So I'm assuming that 2024 was truly the first year that this came out. I have it in a single wick. I got it with my rewards because on cold, it smelled really nice and I really liked it in theory. I brought it home, put it on the warmer because that's what I do with my single wicks. And the only reason I get single wicks is because you can't get anything else that great with your rewards anymore. And it performed really well, super strong, too strong to the point where I was like, okay, you know, I've had enough. And, you know, I gave it to my husband, but smelled just like a creamy, decadent, gourmandy, delicious, tropical, you know, pina colada drink that you would have at, you know, a resort or Mexican restaurant, anywhere. It smelled great, smelled really authentic. This one, and again, I don't know if it's because of the layered thing or if it's just because this is, you know, been reformulated. The first layer of this, the coconut smelled different than what I'm used to with the single wick. So the single wick, again, smells exactly like a pina colada, and you really get that sweet pineapple in there. You really get the sense of coconut milk, really creamy. This one smelled really green to me. It smelled like the, prepared, right? It smelled like the green coconut in Waikiki Beach coconut. It doesn't smell like Waikiki Beach coconut because these are completely different scent notes. Tropical white coconut, saltwater breezes, some bleached woods. But the coconut that's in here is not a creamy gourmandy coconut. It is a young green coconut, leaning more towards coconut water than coconut milk. So coconut water comes from these younger, right, green fruit, and coconut milk comes from the mature brown husky fruit. And apparently, you know, I used to think that you cracked open a coconut and you poured it out and all this, you know, milk flowed out and that's how you got coconut milk. But Google said, no, that's not how it works. And apparently it's, you know, they chop up the white meat that's inside with the coconut water, you know, but the meat isn't that sweet and creamy in a greener one. So that's why you can't get it out of the younger ones. But I digress. The point that I'm getting to is this one smelled different. It smelled a lot greener. Did it smell bad? No, but it smelled different and I noticed it. you know, every single time I would kind of pick it up, I would immediately be like, that's a little bit different. But the throw was great. The wax pulls and the flames on both of these were fantastic. Pulled out beautifully within an hour. Flames were always nice and healthy, not too hot, but never deady. And you know, this one I sensed in the room within the first 15 minutes before it even pulled out. You know, this one's always a good performer. And you know, but the only thing was, again, I kept noticing that it smelled a little bit different, little bit, super little bit, and maybe it's just me. When we got to the second layer, so the orangey layer here, and I didn't burn this as many times as I did with the blue raspberry snow cone, because that one I was on a mission to really find out, am I going nuts or can I really not smell it? This one was performing fine. You know, it's besides that little bit of a green coconut note, it's the scent that we know, and the performance was solid medium. So I didn't feel the need to really get into it to know what I was talking about. But I did notice when we got to this little orangey layer, it did start to smell more like the single wick. So it started to smell more like the repackages that we're used to on the shelves. So those are my 2 cents. They're both great. And again, you know, I really enjoy these layered candles. I hope they keep doing them. The Sweet Shop and the Day at the Cafe were strong, great performers. The only dud for me was the blue raspberry snow cone. And again, that might have possibly been, you know, a batch issue. So all in all, I think these are fun and great, and I hope they keep doing them. Did I say that? Let's see. What am I doing? Monday, I'm getting my first South of Sanity haul, and I'm super excited about that. I've never gotten into wax melts before because I'm an extremist. So, you know, I either want none of it or I want a lot of it. So I didn't want to get into wax melts because I know myself and I didn't need a whole new, you know, issue. But when I went to Virgil's website to check out the candles, and I've heard so much about South of Sanity, so many of the reviewers here have, you know, hauled his things, and they always smelled so good. But for some reason, I would always see those videos on the off seasons, and you know, I would always kind of be like, oh, those sound great, but you know, right now I'm burning this kind of thing, so you know, maybe next time. This time, when I scrolled through his website and I was looking at the scent notes of the wax melts, because again, the 3 wicks, a lot of the ones I wanted were sold out, and the wax melts, there was such a big variety, and a lot of them are probably favorites, but everything was new to me. Once I was looking at those scent notes, I was sold. I was hooked. I was like, I need these. So I got 15. And I don't have a wax warmer because, again, I have never melted cubes before. So I have a skull wax warmer coming on the way the same day, actually, as the melts are arriving. So I'm super excited about that. And I can't wait to share that with you guys. Very, very excited. And also, I guess, also preparing for SAS, maybe decluttering. I don't know if I'll maybe do a decluttering mist video. I have so many, and my focus is on candles though, so I don't know if we'll get into that. But in about 2 weeks time, 3 at most, we have SAS coming up, and that whole new line of candles, those Bistro treats, are sounding really tempting. I'm very excited. Summer Boardwalk is coming back in a 3 weeks. Super excited about that. Although that little hand with the crushed almond ice cream on the label makes absolutely no sense to me, but I'll take it. And that's it. And then, you know, as much as I look forward to summer, because that's when all the sickness kind of stays away, I'm really looking forward to fall, guys. Fall and Halloween, that's my jam, so I'm super excited about that. But until then, let's enjoy the summer. Super excited about the SAS scents. I hope you are too. Thank you for coming back to join me, and I will see you next week with South of Sanity. Jane.
It's layered like a sandwich.